All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Well, I guess it might not be morning for you. It's morning for me. It's really early in the morning for me. Let's go through vocab list number 2 again with our new AMSCO list. The words are continuing to be more challenging. Excuse me. It's very early. And we're going to have more words this week. And pretty much from here on out, instead of 10 words a week, we're going to have 12 words a week. We've done 11 in the past, but now we're going a little bit bigger. So here are the words for this week. We have acclaim, malleable, gala, convivial, doleful, dystopia, bias, menial, xenophobia, jettison, hypochondriac, and dogmatic. Here's my sweet coffee mug today. Kind of me if I was a deer, I guess. All right, here we go. So first we have acclaim. Now, this slideshow has kind of the dictionary definition and then a bit of kind of discussion about how it's used. It's a word or a phrase or just the general idea of enthusiastic praise for something. It can also be used to discuss applause. It comes from the idea of to shout. It can also just be an exclamation, but here's how you should think of it maybe a little bit more. Something that has received a lot of praise is acclaimed or has received a lot of acclaim. So it can be used as a verb or as a noun. That said, a person wouldn't want to use it in an active kind of way. You wouldn't want to say, I acclaim that movie. That's just not how it's used. Usually indicates mass praise from a lot of people all going crazy for something, or a group of professional critics. At the end of the year, when they're putting out their movies list, the best movies of the year, they'll say it came out to much acclaim, right? Usually that means the critics really liked it. All right, here we go. A gala. A gala is a festive celebration. Not just that, it's usually a formal celebration. It's usually done in public so other people can see it, but not necessarily. Usually has some kind of mode of entertainment goes on with it, live music, something like that. It is a fun word. It's a really good one to use. It is gala. So I've heard people say gala before, but gala tends to be the pronunciation I hear most often. It's usually used for large, extremely fancy events. The most famous one now is the Met Gala, which is what the Metropolitan Museum of Art puts on in New York every year. Everyone dresses in their most wild fashions for it. I do have mixed feelings about the politics of such an event, as do I, but it is pretty fancy, and I gotta admit, if I got a ticket for it, I'd go. It looks pretty fun. Doleful. Doleful's great. Something is doleful if it is expressing extreme sadness or grief. A look can be doleful. You can have a doleful look on your face. You can have a doleful song. It's something, though, that can be kind of quickly seen and gathered as doleful. I don't know that I've ever heard a movie called Doleful. That would be kind of a new one for me. Maybe it has, but it's not the usual usage. You wouldn't say that you feel doleful. You might feel like expressing your sadness, but it's not really how it's said. Usually it's seeing or hearing something and realizing it is expressing that sadness or grief. That would be doleful. All right, bias. There's a lot of a lot of usage of the word bias these days in many different ways. Bias has taken on a more and more negative connotation in the world, as it should. It's being used in terrible ways. It's not an automatically negative word, but as we tend to see, it really is. It's a tilt in opinion before knowing all the facts about a topic, a person, or an entire group of people. Someone can have a bias against whatever, teachers, right? We all know what we're really talking about here, but we don't need to say horrible things on this video. If someone has a bias against teachers, actually some people do, they'd, as soon as you hear someone's a teacher, you go, oh, I don't like them. They didn't even meet me, but they just have decided they don't like me because I'm a teacher. Now, these biases, that'd be the plural, can exist for sexual orientation, can exist for race, can exist for political views, can exist for age, pretty much anything you can think of that'd be a trait of a human being. Now, here's the thing though. Bias is used in a negative way, which is to show that someone is, in another way, which is to show that someone has an agenda in their opinions and how they present information. This is kind of towards the bottom of our definition here. You'll see this one. The connotation of bias is extremely negative. A major factor now in our news and information is when facts are not reported evenly. They're reported in a way with a bias. A bias can be for or against something in this sense. I have a bias for the political party I like, so I don't talk about the things they do that are bad because I want them to look good. or vice versa, right? So if I present news with a bias, I don't present the straight facts. I instead twist those facts or omit certain things in order to make the story go how I want it to go. So bias is a real problem. Excuse me. Xenophobia. Xenophobia is prejudice against people from other countries, hatred or fear of foreigners. It's the fear of the outsider, anyone who's from not us, right? That is a xenophobia. Phobia, again, always means a fear of some kind. It's a Latin root. Xeno is the outside of idea here. Usually, even though it's a fear, it presents itself as a hatred, right? I hate people from there. I don't want people from there to come into wherever I am. It's worth noting, fears tend to present themselves as hatreds. If someone has a fear of a certain sexual orientation, if someone has fear of a certain type of person, they will present it as hating that person. Although really what they are is scared, which is, I don't mean to say that should give us sympathy for their feelings. I am anti-xenophobia. Let's be very clear. I'm anti-hating anybody. It is curious, though, for them, if they start to do that reflection of where does this thing come from? What are they scared of? What's going on there? Now, there is an adjective form of this, which would be xenophobic. If someone's xenophobic, they have that fear, right? All right, let's go forward here. Maybe. What's happening? There we are. Hypochondriac. Being a hypochondriac is someone who has an obsessive worry about illness or injury, but they don't necessarily actually have that thing. Like they're worried, like, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. And they always think they're having a heart attack just because they're stressed out. Or they hear about a disease, they go, oh my God, I have that disease. Oh, without question. I get the symptoms of runny nose. I have a runny nose. I haven't got it. That's a hypochondriac. Hypochondria is the condition of it. There is another usage of it, which is hypochondriacal. It's not exactly a verb. I have a kind of a typo in there. It's more like it's an adjective actually. Someone is acting hypochondriacal. This has gotten out of control in the internet age. People go to WebMD and they're like, "Yep, that's what I got." It's not a good way to live your life, and you can misdiagnose and just worry about things you're not supposed to worry about. In short, go see a doctor. It's cut off a little here by my terrible face, but don't self-diagnose. Go see medical professionals. Get real opinions. Don't self-diagnose and worry about things when you don't even know if you have them. It's really a serious problem. Malleable. Malleable describes something or someone can shape. It can be manipulated and formed and molded in some fashion. That's a pretty perfect definition of it. A couple of examples might be helpful. Clay is a great malleable thing when it's wet, right? A putty or a dough, warm wax, like when the candle goes out, but you can mess with the wax that's in it. I think you should do that. It'll be hot. You'll burn your fingers. It's a very relative term. It's not that something is soft exactly. It's that it can be moved around. Gold, part of why it was initially considered valuable, and of course still is valuable, is because it can be hammered into shape. Gold is a very soft metal and is malleable. You can hammer it or bend it and make it what you want it to be, so it's still considered malleable. Now, you can consider a person to be malleable if they're easily manipulated in what they believe or in what they do. Like a little bit of pressure from their peers or a little bit of just, what do you think about this? You can consider a person to be malleable, although it's kind of metaphorical in its usage. Convivial. If someone or something is convivial, it's social, it's cheerful. Oh, there's a typo in here. They enjoy eating, drinking, socializing with friends. So convivial, it's fun. It's kind of a party atmosphere, not a woo party, but a hello party, having a good time, right? It doesn't have to be quite that mellow, but it doesn't have to be wild either. It can be kind of in between, or either extreme. It's a word that doesn't get enough usage. I think it's really a great one. A person can be convivial. You can be in a convivial mood. And a place can be convivial. Oh, that new restaurant is very convivial. Everyone, talks to everyone. Those family style long tables. Everyone sits together. It's very convivial and friendly and fun and partying. All those kinds of things. It is very relative. Not every party is convivial. Some parties are a little, they got kind of an ugly vibe going on to them, right? It's kind of high praise to be convivial. That's a pretty successful party if it has a convivial vibe to it. Right, dystopia. Dystopia is an imaginary society that has frightening living conditions. We should back up a little bit here. It's helpful to remember the word utopia, which is the initial thing here. It actually comes from a book like hundreds of years ago. The idea of a utopia is a perfect and ideal society where everything's going great. Everyone gets along, everything works, everything is perfect. Dystopia is the opposite. Everything sucks, everything's terrible, the people are miserable, the world's falling apart in one way or another. In literature, usually a dystopia is characterized by either post-apocalyptic conditions, there's been a horrible disaster and everyone's living in the wreckage of it, or there's a totalitarian government, like fascistic and dictators, things of that nature, or both. The people are struggling, a handful of people are getting rich or prospering off the suffering of those below them, things of that nature. As an adjective, you'd say dystopic. It's used now a lot of ways, the word dystopia, in kind of hyperbolic ways. Oh, we're living in a dystopia. I don't know. I mean, like, things are definitely not perfect in the world, and there's things that we could fix. But there are things that lead us feeling like, oh, this is like a dystopia. This is like a fascistic thing. And it's worth us being aware of fighting against creating dystopias, fighting against a dystopic situation. Menial. Oh, man. I think about this one a lot. People tend to really hate menial work. Menial work is a job that doesn't require any skill. The task itself is boring. It makes you feel like a servant. People don't like menial work. It's not fun. The best I can say for menial work is, well, I guess you can think about something else while you're doing it. It doesn't take a lot of concentration. Now, to be clear, there's no shame in menial work. I think that's a really important thing that needs to be clarified here. I've done jobs that were menial work. I was a dishwasher for quite a while. When I was working in restaurants, I'd have dishwashing shifts all the time. And one thing about the dishwashing shift is I could just think about whatever I want to think about. But I was bored, and I didn't enjoy it very much. You will have jobs where you wash dishes, where you dig ditches. Sounds very similar. Where you're doing manual labor stuff. There's nothing wrong with menial labor, but people don't tend to enjoy it. And they're the kinds of jobs that people don't go, ooh, that sounds fun, right? They're the ones that people don't really talk about very much because they're not very well respected. They should be. Again, there's no shame in it, but it's not the job that you grow up wanting when you're a little kid. That's menial work. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of all there is to say about it. Again, nothing wrong with menial work. We all got to do it at times. And you may have a part of your day that is menial, right? I was working in my garden. I love my garden, but I just had to like turn over all the dirt. It was pretty menial. I didn't really enjoy that part very much. Jettison. To jettison something is to throw it overboard to lighten a load. Usually you say it in reference to a ship or a plane, like a boat or a plane. You throw things overboard to lighten the load so it doesn't either fall out of the sky or sink. That's really all of the literal usage of it. A thing needs to be tossed out because if it doesn't get tossed out, it's bringing down the whole ship. Now, here's what's kind of curious. You can also use it in a metaphorical way, right? In my life, if I had like a friend who was not great, who was a problem for me, I might jettison that person. I'm getting them out of my life before they bring down the whole thing. That person's going away. That would be an example of jettisoning something, right? I need to jettison that person before they bring down the whole thing. I might need to jettison that, whatever, that employee, because they saw it cause so many problems at work. They're going to bring down the ship of the restaurant, the bookstore, whatever it may be. There's too much being carried. It's got to go. It could be because they're a problem. It could be because we just can't afford them anymore, all kinds of things. Now, you can say you're jettisoning something just to say it's being thrown away, but it's not really what's... I'm not going to jettison my empty soda can, right? I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to recycle it. But I'm not doing it because if I don't, my life will fall apart. I'm doing it because that's, you put things away. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about that one. Then we have dogmatic. Dogmatic's kind of a big one. To be dogmatic is to give or to behave as though the thing you believe is an actual legitimate fact. This is going to get a little bit messy. So dogma is a set of beliefs that someone functions with the belief that they're true. Religion falls into this. Politics falls into this. I have my views on religion. I have my views on politics. I believe them with my whole heart. I'm totally dedicated to my ideals. And I can be dedicated to my dogma, my set of beliefs. However, if I behave in a dogmatic fashion, that means I behave as though these are absolute facts that everyone accepts. And they're not. Lots of people disagree with me on all kinds of things. So if I go into a belief, into a statement that treats my beliefs as absolute fact for everyone, I'm going to have some trouble acting in a rational way and without offending a whole lot of people. So a person who believes as though their beliefs are absolute fact and puts others in a position where they have to treat those beliefs as facts, that first person is being dogmatic. Other people believe other things. So behaving in a way that's dogmatic is usually not seen as a good thing. It's usually a negative. Now, it's not, the thing is, to behave in a way that's dogmatic is negative. It does not mean that the beliefs themselves are necessarily bad. By and large, if someone has a religion and a faith, great, it's wonderful. It makes them happy and creates peace for them, and they treat others well, and that's it's great. Whatever the motivation is for it. If they have a political viewpoint, if they have a taste in music of what's best, and they behave in ways that are wonderful and exciting and stirring for them in their lives, wonderful. That's great. Their dogma is awesome. But if they insist everybody goes along with this thing that they think, that's being dogmatic. And that is not so good. That is the slideshow this week. It's a longer one. We're at 16 minutes. Whew, long. But we had a lot of words, a lot of explanations to help them make sense. I hope this video has been helpful to you. I apologize for all my umming and ahhing and my sniffles, but I'll see you next time.